Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again. I'm Ron Corning. Forward DFW, together with the Morning News, is continuing to cover the coronavirus pandemic and how it's affecting our community. Specifically, we're taking a look at how you can get the help you need to get through it and also how you can help others. Here's a rundown of what we'll talk about today. Get Shift Done. Yes, indeed. We talked about Makeshift last week, an organization that jumped in to help put to work hospitality workers who lost their jobs in the restaurant industry. How is that going? Well, it's setting an example for the rest of the country. Also, Show Me the Money. How giving your money to charities during this difficult time is so important. But we want to talk about just not how much you give, but how you give exactly. We'll explain that. And also, why we care. Yes, the YMCA is busy and in business. They are keeping people healthy and safe. We'll talk more about that. We want to begin here with Monica Eggert-Smith. She is the Chief Relationship Officer with Communities Foundation of Texas, and she really has her finger on the pulse of how the nonprofit community in Dallas is weathering this very difficult time. Monica, thank you for being here. And I sort of want to start with that, and that is a State of the Union, if you will, of how nonprofits are dealing with this, because they're being called on like never before to help, while also probably dealing with a diminished amount of donations.
That's right, Ron. I mean, we know that every nonprofit organization is being impacted by the COVID-19 outbreak, whether they are on the front lines and providing much needed services, food, shelter, those types of things, financial assistance to individuals who are really struggling because they've lost their jobs, or because they're organizations that have had to shut down and have no revenue because they've canceled performances, canceled fundraising events. Literally every nonprofit organization in North Texas and really across this country will be impacted adversely because of this.
And it's interesting because some of your larger donors have really been giving more during what has been a robust economy. Their net wealth and worth has gone up, so they're giving more. Now, as we watch these markets fall, as we watch the price of oil fall, for example, you have a contingent or a core group of people who donate who may be backing off a bit. Are you concerned about that?
Well, I think it's definitely a concern, particularly for organizations that rely on large numbers of smaller gifts, because we know that during uncertain times, people often pull back a little bit on charitable giving, even when it's needed more than ever. Certainly at Communities Foundation of Texas, we'll see less impact because many of our donors have put money into their giving funds, their donor advised funds. So those dollars will be available for grant making at any time. But yes, there will be organizations that will see a drop off in donations.
So you talk about innovation, you talk about being creative, you talk about the community coming together. And on that note, I think this is an important place for you to announce an initiative that I think will really help close that gap to some degree, not entirely. For those of you who know, it's become such a popular event every year. That's North Texas Giving Day, typically in September, correct? And that platform that you log on to, northtexasgivingday.org or whatever the website is, you get on there and you're able to search zip codes, causes. We have seen an extraordinary number of people, an increasing number of people over the years give an increasing number of donations. You're moving not North Texas Giving Day up, but you're collaborating with them to launch a huge initiative that will allow people to give $5, $10, whatever they can give to help during this time.
That's right. So we are very excited because Communities Foundation of Texas, the United Way of Metropolitan Dallas, the Dallas Cowboys, and many other significant community partners, which you'll be hearing a lot about over the coming weeks, have partnered and are collaborating in ways that are very, very exciting for our nonprofits. We will be doing a special North Texas Gives Day on May 5th, which is a Tuesday, and this will be part of the larger Giving Tuesday movement. Giving Tuesday usually happens right before Christmas, right after Thanksgiving, but recognizing that there is such a need right now and that so many organizations are struggling nationally and then here locally with North Texas Gives, all of these partners have come together to use the North Texas Giving Day platform so that donors can give small amounts, large amounts, any amount will make a big difference to over 3,000 organizations across the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
That's amazing. So you're moving up Giving Tuesday from the holiday season to May 5th, and then you're using, I should say, North Texas Giving Days technology and platform to reach organizations and people and give those who are watching a chance to donate. And this could generate, I mean, North Texas Giving Day generated some $50 million last year because of the economic squeeze we're feeling. There's no guarantee we'll reach that number, but certainly I can imagine tens of millions will come in to some degree, right?
Well, we certainly hope so. I mean, I think now more than ever, people need to dig deeper. And I know just at CFT in the last 2 weeks, we've really gotten an influx of calls from our donors, but also from business leaders and others in the community who want to do something to help beyond just staying home, which we're all doing. So this is a way that we can all come together in ways that we haven't in quite some time, not taking anything away from our usual North Texas Giving Day, which happens in September, and then all the holiday giving that happens, including Giving Tuesday around the holidays. But these are extraordinary times, and we need to really pull together and infuse some much needed capital into our nonprofits.
It's extraordinary, too, the ways in which when we have to, we can cut out the bureaucracy, the red tape, we can collaborate, we can sort of put aside any, not to say, it is competitive. I will say it is competitive. Giving is competitive. Everybody is looking for the dollar, and they're looking to sell people on why their cause is more important than another. And in this case, it seems like a total collaboration in which none of that matters. It's all for one cause.
You are absolutely right. I mean, we know that there are over 100,000 nonprofit organizations across the state of Texas. Here in North Texas, we have a disproportionate number of those. We have 30% of all nonprofits across the state. So there is typically competition for fundraising.
Sure there is.
But I think we all recognize, particularly those in the foundation and funding community, that if we don't all come together and dig a little bit deeper, quite honestly, there will be a large number of organizations that will not survive. And those are very important programs and services. In many cases, they're not nice to haves, they're need to haves. And they make our community the rich, thriving place that it is. So,
and we talked about this last week, and that was our food banks. So our food banks cater to those who some would go without entirely. Others are food insecure and they need extra food in order to feed their families. And talk about an effort in which all of the red tape was cut out, all of the bureaucracy was cut out. We have Anurag Jain, the principal of Dallas-based venture capital firm Perot Jain LP, who started Shift Smart, which is a means by which you can hire members of the hospitality industry to work as volunteers in food banks. He said, quoted in the Dallas Morning News here, "Talk about the craziest week of my life." That was his partner who said that. "This is absolutely by far not even close the fastest startup that I've ever done." That was with Patrick Brandt, who created Get Shift Done with Make Shift. I love the tagline because it gets people's attention. Let's get shift done. Let's give a shift.
it definitely gets your attention.
And in the time since we first talked about this effort rolling out, literally in record time, it really has gone a long way to employ people who would otherwise be unemployed in the hospitality industry and keep the food flowing to those who need it most.
Yeah, this is such a cool example of how people are coming together and thinking in creative ways that perhaps they wouldn't have before. And like you said, cutting through all the bureaucracy and the red tape. So Patrick Brandt and Anurag Jain, who are longtime friends of Communities Foundation, came to us that first weekend when we were all at home, and they recognized, because the restaurants were starting to close, were mandated to close, that a lot of people in the industry, and particularly the hospitality industry, were going to be out of work. And they don't necessarily have savings and a cushion, if you will. They live paycheck to paycheck and rely on those tips and that constant work.
And that doesn't exist if people are picking up at the window and so forth.
Exactly.
We had the owner of Oddfellows on here, and she had to lay off in a matter of days 44 of her 50 staff at two locations, and delivery and pickup only account for a certain amount of that business. By the numbers, there were 13,500 restaurants in the Metroplex that employ 300,000 people. It's no wonder we saw that weekly unemployment number of 3.28 million, which was about 4.5 times what the record in a week had been.
Yeah, the situation is really dire. And that's where Patrick and Anurag said, you know what, we've got a technology platform, Shift Smart, that can pair people with organizations that are seeing their volunteer numbers drop substantially because everybody is being told to stay home, and particularly for organizations that rely on older volunteers, who are at greater risk right now. So in order to continue operations at places like the North Texas Food Bank and Hunger Busters and VNA, which operates Meals on Wheels, and even some of the school districts that have continued their meal service for students who are at home, they have to be able to deploy people to do all of those work, to pack food boxes, to make meals, to do those deliveries. So these guys have set up a fund with Communities Foundation of Texas. So all donations to this fund are tax deductible. They can deploy literally a few $100,000 a week to pay workers who are filling these shifts at our local nonprofits. It keeps the employees at least with some steady income, although not what they were making. And it certainly helps our nonprofits to continue to be operating at high functioning capacity, which they need more than ever.
We talk about people and donors need to think differently about how they give, because we've been conditioned, and I've been taught this over the years when I give to specific organizations for specific causes so that you know your dollar goes exactly where you intend it to go, as opposed to blindly giving to an organization that decides. We're asking people to change the way they think. It's called unrestricted giving. I give you a donation. I'm going to trust that you will make a good decision to make sure that money goes where it's most needed. Is that what you're asking of people?
Yeah, we really are encouraging donors right now to give general operating support. And even if they've given a restricted gift in the past, to reach out to their favorite organizations and to remove those restrictions. We know right now more than ever, organizations, in order to keep their doors open beyond this crisis, will need those general operating dollars to continue paying their employees, to pay their utility bills, to pay their rent. And so rather than giving to a specific program where dollars are very restricted, and maybe that program isn't even operating right now, reclassifying those donations as general operating support will go a long way. And you're absolutely right, Ron. Trust our organizations. They know what the needs are. They are going to be good stewards of those dollars. And particularly if you've given to an organization over many years, you have a great relationship with them.
Yeah.
So that's
hopefully there is a level of trust there that they can take it. And Gillian Breidenbach is here joining us as well. Before we wrap up this segment, you're promoting that same thing at Forward DFW. You're sort of guiding people through this new way of thinking about how to give.
Absolutely. At the Dallas Morning News, we have launched our own COVID-19 relief efforts, and in a matter of weeks, we've already raised $100,000 to give back to these amazing nonprofits. They really are in desperate times right now, and it's incumbent on all of us to take care of them, and nothing better than Texans helping Texans.
Boy, and talk about a catch-22 again. When people are in most need, those who are most able to give may not feel they're as able to give. Let's hope that the efforts on May 5th to bring that technology from North Texas Giving Day online, people will give small gifts and it will add up to something really, really big. And remember, you can also continue to volunteer, and here's how you can do it with the help of Forward DFW. If you have idle time on your hands, you can use your special gift, your skill set, your superpower. Visit FWDDFW.com, click on the volunteer link, sign up to be a neighbor with VOMO.org. All right, everyone, we are back continuing our conversation about how the nonprofit organizations of Dallas are really when I say Dallas, I should say DFW, our entire Metroplex, how they're really coming together in unique and interesting ways to help shore us up during this difficult time, the coronavirus pandemic. Susan Hoff is joining us, Chief Impact and Strategy Officer with United Way of Metropolitan Dallas. Susan, thanks for being here. You are joined with one of the most recognizable, wide-reaching charitable organizations in the area. And I know that you're making it your mission and your effort to make sure that you're helping other nonprofits as well. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, as you said, Ron, we launched a collaborative just a little over a week ago called North Texas Cares. And it was really a brainchild of Communities Foundation of Texas, the Dallas Foundation, and the United Way together, pulling together to figure out how could we simplify the application process for nonprofits that desperately need resources from multiple sources, as well as streamline the process for multiple funders who want to get resources into the hands of organizations very quickly as we respond and focus on recovery for this health pandemic. So forming the collaborative, we created one common application. So any organization, any nonprofit organization can apply for funding, and all they need to do is submit one application. That goes into a common platform created by Communities Foundation of Texas. United Way team reviews the applications and makes recommendations very quickly. And then each of the other funders, and now we have 20 and counting of foundations as well as other area United Ways, can decide what type of funding they want to make if they're able to make an investment in some of these critically needed services. Just for instance, last week we speeded up the process. We launched the website on Monday, and we at United Way were able to make grant investments by Friday of that week. We were able to put out $750,000 to 43 nonprofits who, again, are doing that critical work in our community. And then those applications are out to another 20 funders who are considering making the funding as well.
So it's really remarkable. Again, two themes emerging here, and that is collaboration of organizations that perhaps in the past haven't necessarily worked together, and also just doing away with some of the red tape, bureaucracy, and other things that in the past may have slowed the process. Those things in place for good reason during a regular time, but these are extraordinary circumstances, and so you've foregone some of those hurdles. Tell people how they can. So you're specifically helping organizations that are feeling a crunch right now. Mm-hmm. So they can go where to apply for a grant?
They can go to texascares.org, or they can also link on any of the websites for United Way Dallas or Communities Foundation of Texas, or the Dallas Foundation as well, and get the link there. There's one application, as you said, it streamlines the process. Our entire focus is to get resources quickly to those who are doing those most critical frontline services right now.
Well, we appreciate your efforts, Susan. Thank you very much. And again, we're all trying to get through this together. You heard what she said, $750,000 to 43 organizations in a matter of a week. This effort will continue. They'll be collaborating on that May 5th North Texas Gives Day as well. That will all come together and coalesce, hopefully in a way that helps these nonprofits help people who are having a most difficult time during this pandemic. And we'll be back in just a moment. Thanks to Forward DFW and Baylor Scott and White Health, the Dallas Morning News is providing public health coverage of coronavirus free of charge. Go to dallasnews.com. All right, we are back and continuing to talk about the importance of nonprofits, not just in how they serve the community, but how they actually help our economy in significant ways. And Monica is back here with me. And when you were talking to me during the quick break we had about the numbers, by the numbers, share with people for context the number of people nonprofits employ and the amount of money they infuse into the economy.
Yeah, so the nonprofit sector really does make a huge impact on the Texas economy. We know that there are over 500,000 people directly employed by nonprofits in Texas. And when you add in all the other people that are working for for-profits, but that indirectly work with nonprofits, that total number is around 1.4 million people. So there are a lot of jobs at stake. Mm-hmm. We also know that nonprofits infuse a little over $215 billion in direct expenditures into the Texas economy. Again, that's a statewide number, but that's not an insignificant amount. And when you think about all the ways that nonprofits serve our for-profit sectors, everything from agriculture and energy to even the construction sectors, financial services, and certainly tourism, it really will have an impact not just on the nonprofit sector, but on the overall Texas economy when nonprofits are struggling.
Well, a case in point might be the YMCA, which is one of the largest nonprofit organizations that employs people and serves the community in so many ways in which you may not even be aware. Kurt Hazelbaker is joining us now. He is with the YMCA, President and CEO. Thank you for joining us today, Kurt. It's much appreciated. Can you, off the top of your head, in a general sense, how many people does the YMCA employ in the Metroplex?
Well, this time of year, it's around 2,200. We'll peak in the summer at about 2,800. About 90% of our folks are part-time or seasonal.
As
full-time.
As things stand right now, my experience with the Y is one of your facilities, your gyms, which frankly I haven't visited in a couple months. And Gillian and I were joking about it because she hasn't either. But let's start here by encouraging people, if they're able to continue to pay their gym membership, even if they can't use it, that $60, $70 a month, it's in that range. That goes a long way, does it not?
Yes, it does. We're doing a lot of work right now that takes place outside of our gyms and what people are familiar with. When you think about, for instance, on Saturday, our Park South YMCA, which is 10 minutes from downtown, served about 6,000 pounds of food to 500 families.
Really?
Being there on Saturday, people came in their cars. A woman showed up in an electric wheelchair. People show up on bikes or show up and walking. For many of them, we're their primary source of food. A lot of people don't know we do things like that.
Monica misses the pool. So she'll be glad when that reopens. She also is going to continue her membership even during this downtime. But we should let people know you've also gone the way of some of the other smaller gyms that we've heard of and personal trainers, virtual fitness classes.
Yes, we have a couple of different options online. If you can access our website, which you've got up there now, Les Mills on demand. Les Mills is the provider for most of our content with our group exercise classes. They have made over 800 classes available in 13 different formats. We started that a week ago. About 2,700 people have signed up to take those right now. We've got another content called Y360, which is group exercise classes. There's classes for seniors in that as well. Les Mills has Les Mills on demand for kids, so the families can get involved. We have a virtual PowerWorks, which is a functional fitness training you can access. And the other thing, which I'm pleased with, our personal trainers are still doing their training sessions through Facebook Live. So if you have a relationship with a trainer, you can work with that trainer now and get connected with them and do your workout, continue your fitness routine with the trainer that you're used to being a part of.
So you've given us some insight into how you're helping feed people who need that service. You're providing emergency child care for healthcare workers and first responders. We know many of them are putting in extraordinary number of hours while their children are at home because they can't go to school. So there's a gap there to be filled. Blood drives at Y locations. We know that the coronavirus, the illness itself, doesn't cause patients to need a blood transfusion. But as Dr. Winter from Baylor Scott and White Health told us last week, what happens is we become so focused on the crisis at hand that we forget to give, or we don't give blood, and then blood banks suffer as hospitals deal with other crises.
Correct. We reached out to the American Red Cross about the same time they were reaching out to us. Their blood mobiles are being deployed, but they needed fixed sites, and we've got gyms that are sitting empty right now. It was a great way for us to open up our Ys to the community. So we have 5 scheduled beginning in April at our branches around the area. So we think it's another way that we can help. We've got people that come in our buildings all the time, so it's part of their routine. Mm-hmm. Typically when we do a blood drive, they're usually fairly successful because people know that, hey, I'm going to be there anyway. I can give. I can help out my community. We think this is another way that they can do that during this time when not a lot of people are working.
Kurt, your organization, like so many others, appears to have been able to pivot, to fill the gap, to think creatively and outside the box to meet needs that none of us could have foreseen as a result of this coronavirus pandemic. I mean, what are your overall thoughts about how organizations have been able to adjust to extraordinary circumstances?
I think it's pretty neat. And when you look at the history of the YMCA, we have been in Dallas. This is our 135th year. And what we did 135 years ago is a heck of a lot different than what we do today. And the needs shift, and we can shift on the fly with the Y. So things like the emergency child care, the meal distribution at Park South, the blood drives. One of the things that we do and we do well is we step up when the need's there, and the needs change. And the beauty of the YMCA, we have 21 locations in Dallas. None of them are alike. You can go to our White Rock YMCA or T-Moon Pickton YMCA. They offer different things for the community based on what the needs are. That hasn't changed today with what the needs are now. So we will continue to adapt at the Y, but it's also been neat to see some of the other nonprofits, how they have stepped up to do some great work in challenging times. So we're just glad to be a part of the community, helping meet needs. We don't do a lot of it by ourselves. We do it in partnership with others, and we'll continue to do that going forward.
Was that a motto before we started this, or did you just come up with that shift on the fly with the Y?
No, that's been a part of who we are for 135 years. The Y was founded in London, England in 1844. In 1844, it was a Bible study for 12 young men who didn't like the way society was going with the Industrial Revolution. We have some Bible studies now at our Ys, but we do a lot more in a lot of different ways that people don't necessarily associate with us. So
right.
Shifting on the fly is really
Shifting on the fly. And in keeping with our theme, you're getting shift done. So we appreciate that. Thank you, Kurt Hazelbaker, for joining us, President and CEO of YMCA. Gillian, you have brought all the big players together here today in one place with United Way, with Everyone Community Foundations of Texas, and the YMCA.
Well, that's how we're going to get through this, is if we all work together, we will get through this. We will survive. And it's going to take all of us to make this happen.
Yeah. Has it been remarkable for you to watch the way in which these organizations, with your help and together collaborating, have been able to, as we say, pivot and shift so easily?
Well, it's remarkable, but it's exactly what I would expect from North Texans. I mean, when you've got leadership like the Communities Foundation of Texas, the United Way, and the YMCA, they all want to succeed and they are all willing to collaborate. And then it's been a blessing to watch how a community like North Texas really rallies around itself. And we're going to come through this. We're going to be okay, but it's going to take us all.
Yeah, and we have to expect the unexpected. I think that's part of it as well. So our thanks to Monica Agert-Smith, who joined us from Community Foundation of Texas. Thank you for co-hosting here with me and helping us get through this. Our thanks to Kurt Hazelbaker, President and CEO of the YMCA, and also Susan Hoff, who joined us from the United Way of Metropolitan Dallas. We'll continue here with Forward DFW together with the Dallas Morning News to get you through this unusual time, and we'll see you next time, everybody. Special thanks to Forward DFW's founding and supporting partners for making this coverage possible. Forward DFW was created in partnership with the Dallas Morning News. The goal? To connect companies, causes, and the community, and face issues that impact the economy and wellness of North Texas.